Hello, 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 and welcome to the All About You show with OMG and Friends, where we talk about the things that you think about. I am your host, OMG, along with my co-host,
Silky Smooth
and Daydream.
And your wellness warrior, Susan Nett.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we ask that you please join in on the conversation, where your thoughts, your comments, and your opinions help drive the conversation. Today our topic is stranger danger. Danger that is imposed upon both men and women alike by a stranger. Now, stranger danger, we've all heard the phrase, is a warning of what could be considered extremely jeopardous. Yet it is a service that we as women volunteer to participate in without checking into it further. Stranger danger is the idea of warning that all strangers can potentially be dangerous to us. It is an example of a moral panic that people experience regarding anyone that they are unfamiliar with in society. The phrase stranger danger is intended to sum up the danger associated with adults whom adults do not know. Now, since Uber was founded in 2009 and launched internationally in 2011, it has revolutionized the taxi world. Now available in 66 countries and 449 cities, people all across the globe are opting to use this app over the traditional taxi methods. Now, who wouldn't want a smartphone app that connects you with your drivers? It allows you to keep track of their rides and even offers codes that gives them free rides later on. Now, on top of that, the passenger never has to even talk to the driver or handle any money. So for many, that is a big plus. Now, safety is a huge issue when it comes to traveling. Safety is a huge issue when it comes to traveling, especially for women. Now, due to all of these widespread reports, there have been other ride-sharing services created as a result of what has happened with Uber and Lyft. They champion the idea of keeping their riders safe. Now, on the whole, it's hard to say whether Uber is actually as safe as they claim. So how safe, guys, are Ubers and Lyft and taxis for women? Let's talk about this new trend.
This false sense of security
Yes.
is what it is.
But we feed into it.
Yeah, it's because it's convenient. We're all about instant gratification and me, and now, and it's convenient. But it initially, I guess we all started off with what's a safety thing. It's just smart, but it opened up a whole other slew.
But it's advertised as being safe.
Well, see, again, advertising, that's worth nothing.
Right, and they're saying that their drivers have had background checks and they
That's
give you
right.
this false sense of security, so they lie to us.
See, again, any of you that know me and you listen to the show, you do know that I am a conspiracy theorist.
Conspiracy.
I
The
do
conspiracy
not
was
believe. Yeah, I'm the one who tripped out when they had LoJack. When you
Right,
can lock your car and unlock your car from the airport somewhere. See, I'm one of those. I trip out with that. I don't understand how we have become so calm and so okay with putting our lives in danger on a regular basis when we raise our children, grandchildren, if you will. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in the car with strangers. Don't take candy from strangers. Don't do anything with strangers.
Right.
And now here we are in the back seat of a stranger's car.
And even as women, we're taught, I think most especially as young girls, I know for sure we were taught stranger danger.
Absolutely.
You don't talk to anybody,
I'm the East Coast.
you don't trust anyone. And now it's at the point where you have to be careful which law enforcement you trust, because people are, false impersonations, and
This is all one fake
Or
world.
sometimes the real officer paying you a visit
Right.
and reminding you of your tickets or your felonies or your problems with the police and telling you that you need to. And that just happened recently in Houston where it was a string of women and finally he
And what
got the
happened?
wrong one.
Exactly.
No, he was raping these
In
women.
a police uniform?
Yeah, but he was
was a
in
police
uniform.
officer.
He was
a
an
police
actual
officer. But he would go and
officer.
remind you of your tickets or whatever problems you were having with the police.
But see,
Rape
that
you
right
and you were
there.
afraid to tell.
Everything.
But see
Because
that
you
right
have
there. What?
False sense of security.
What law enforcement agency is going to come knocking on your door as a friendly reminder? Hey, don't forget, you got these warrants, girl.
Right.
Let's go take care. Let's go take care of
But you see,
Right.
initially somebody would probably open the door because it is the police.
And that's the
so
initial.
that's the
Right.
entrance right there.
Right.
And so you'd be afraid of what that could turn into if you didn't answer the door.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
I
all
think
about
this cop
education.
was raping women until finally one who didn't have any problems, he didn't know, reported him, and then he got in trouble. It was a big mess.
He should have. See, and that's the other problem. Because of things like that, one bad apple will spoil the bunch. Now, our relations with law enforcement in the community
Has been tainted.
is
Further
even more
selling
tainted.
Yet again.
Further
If a
selling.
policeman stopped me right now, they'd have to follow me in my driveway because I'm going all the way home.
But you know,
I'm
even
not getting
for
out of the
me-
car. I'm not getting out of the car. I'm going all the way home.
Well, and even for me, I got stopped once because I forgot to turn on my lights in one of our old cars.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when the policeman pulled me over, I had come from the gym, so I was sweating. And I was on the phone with my mom, and my mom said, "Baby Joe, hang up the phone.
Stay on the phone.
Stay
with
on
me.
the phone
That's
with
right,
me."
That's right.
And she's like, "Are you okay? Is it okay? What's going on?" And I was like, "He's a real police officer. He just wanted to
See,
remind
these
me
were
that my lights weren't on." But I knew exactly where she was coming from, which
Right.
is why I had my phone on the seat.
See, these were
So.
safety measures that were put in place for us as we were coming up. Even that, like I was telling the team here that 35 years ago when I moved to Houston, believe it or not, and I know this sounds bizarre, they were killing women with the name Denise. I know that
Oh,
sounds
wow.
bizarre. Yeah. You remember? I don't know if you remember
That's my
that.
middle name.
That's my middle name.
What?
Hey, girl. So at any rate,
See,
so
stranger danger.
I
They
know.
just told all their business, giving their whole government name and everything else that's going on.
So see, so they were killing girls named Denise. So I had a friend here, Judy Foster was her name actually, and when I would go somewhere, I would give her my, this guy's license. I would give car, whatever they drove, whatever his name was, and his tags, and sit, because I had no family here.
Right.
So it would be easy for someone like me with no family
To just up and
to
disappear.
just up and just be
Absolutely.
gone. So I told my girlfriends 35 years ago, this is where I'm gonna be. Cell phones weren't there then.
Mm-mm.
So you have to put some sort of safety mechanism in place for yourselves because stuff happens quickly.
Right. And you know what? I still do that to this day. We were talking about that before the show. I still do that to this day. I'm grown.
Me too.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have
me.
my own house, all this other,
The
grown
whole
people
thing.
stuff.
Right.
But I will still call and check in with my parents when I'm going on a trip somewhere. I'm letting them know, hey, I'm
I'm
heading
back.
out of
I'm
town.
headed out.
This is how long I'm supposed to be gone. This is where I'm staying at.
Yeah.
This is my flight. This is what time I'm supposed to get there. This is who I'm traveling with. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And then I'm checking in. Hey, I made it, or I made it to
I
the
do the same
airport.
thing.
Or my connection. I still do that because I don't want to be a decomposed body.
Okay.
I really don't. I want you to know that if I was doing something stupid and wrong, okay, my bad.
Right.
It happened. I got what I deserved. I put myself in that situation. But if I am found or my vehicle or something is wrong, I want someone to know right away, this is wrong. Something is not
This
right.
is off kilter.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't sit there and hide tattoos for my parents either, because if you need to, yes, this is my body, that's my daughter, this is my
Exactly.
child, whatever, because these are the tattoos,
I
this
see
and that.
the trans-
And absolutely. And you know what? Actually, it was my best friend who made a joke about it. Well, Mom, what if, because she told her mother the same thing. Well, Mom, what if you need to, identify my body? Ha, ha, ha. Well, a few years
Oh my
later,
gosh, don't say
a
that.
few years later, unfortunately, my sister, one of her high school mates, that's how his mom had to identify
Oh
him.
my goodness.
And it was a jealous boyfriend with his baby mama. He was visiting her, and he came in and shot him in the face, and it was so bad. That's the only way she could identify her son. It really was by his tattoos.
Wow.
So we might say things in joke, in jest, but it's serious out here. And this was years ago. This was at least 17 years ago.
Before
So
we had
imagine
Wow.
that. Before all
we
that.
had all, social media plays a hell of a big part in all of this because it makes us feel like we have friends. We don't. You don't have all.
There's no such things as friends. I'm gonna go back to my grandma. There's no such thing as friends.
There's no such thing. And so I think we have let our guard down. So now we'll get in the car. Like I said, I have that fear of just from cars and stuff being invented where you can, from my phone lock this and open that and turn the lights on. See, all of that is a red flag to me.
I think we feel like that Uber driver is a friend sometimes.
Well,
They're
because-
coming to pick us up.
Well,
they're coming
absolutely,
to drop
because I
us
see their
off,
picture.
and they converse
and they're
with you, and sometimes they're
Well,
very
no, see,
professional,
that-
whatever. But we start letting our guard down, like you said, and we're feeling like that false sense of security, like a friend,
is it
just like you
blind-
said.
Or is it blind trust?
Blind trust.
Okay, they call it what it is.
And I will say, Uber driver.
What-
One of my 15 jobs.
She's an Uber driver.
wait, Lyft driver. What else you got? Shift driver. But what I will say is, even on the side of I've been both. I've been the driver and the passenger. And I kid you all not, I think of the conversations that people have with me, because, I'm a pretty easy person.
Right.
And I think of the information they give me. And I'm thinking to myself,
You don't know.
you do not know me. Why are you giving me information on your next trips, what you do, what's going on with the dog? And even now, I can't tell you how many messages I get from moms who, because they've got so much going on, commuting time and traffic and all of that. So now I'm picking up their teenage daughter from high school, and they don't know me, and it just so happens it's me, and I'm thinking to myself,
You could have been a pedophile.
Could have been anybody.
it's like I really am fearful of the world we live in, where as a single parent, it is necessary, because your child is, you're not going to be able to get them in time because you're hung up, and now you're trusting. Now keep in mind though, this mom was not joking. She checked in with me, and she said, "You're picking up my." She wanted to hear my voice. She wanted to have a bit of a conversation.
Well, good for
her.
her.
She saw my picture, but she wanted to find out. Okay, so now, how often do you drive? Are you always out?
She needs to know the
and
details.
and even her daughter, I tried to let her daughter know. Okay, I'm
That you're
good.
an actual safe person,
Yeah.
right? See,
But-
and that's good, because the mom was put in a predicament where I need my child picked up. I'm not going to leave her there, but I'm going to do what I can with this stranger to ensure my child's safety. At least get all the information, details. Hey, it's such and such time.
right.
This was a
Why
check-in,
not
that and that
have
time.
your first cousin's brother or somebody on a list where you can pick up children or family members?
Maybe she was on
Maybe they
punishment.
don't have them.
Maybe that girl was on punishment, and the mom can't trust. You're saying so and so's. I can't trust that that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Just
I mean,
think about it
well,
back in the day.
that-
Oh, I'm gonna go study at so and so's
I was
house.
afraid to lie. Oh, I had no-
Oh, I was definitely afraid to lie.
Oh, my,
The fear of God.
Oh
It was
my
like,
gosh,
I'm not gonna lie because she's gonna know.
Oh yeah, I was like, my mother is psychic. I was convinced she was
they
psychic.
can look at you and tell you a lie.
Because I liked my freedom
And
too
it's like,
much,
before you open up your mouth, I see the lie,
I
you're
don't
trying to
wanna
just
hear
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real old school parents. That's
Not
what
only
we grew up with.
that, like you, I'm in the city alone, so I don't have a brother's cousin.
I'm the only kid,
I've got
right.
a relatives like that, but they are in other states. So if
See?
I had a child, I would have to rely on the kindness of you guys to
But
pick
that's
her
a-
up, drop her off, or something.
Right.
If you're available.
Again, that is blind trust. And I've only ridden in an Uber once, and that was December 26th. I'm sorry, this past year. So my daughter and the other part of the family had already flown out before Christmas to go where they were going, so it was easier for me to catch an Uber from my daughter's house to Hobby.
Right.
So I'm nervous because they have to pick me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay? So here I am frantic. I don't sleep. So I'm calling, I'm texting, I'm asking my daughter, well, listen, I want a woman to pick me up. Not to say that she's any more safe
you feel like
than-
her chances
than
are
But it
better.
evens the
a
playing
man. So
field
what
for
the
you.
hell? I
Because
don't
it
know.
evens the playing field.
Right.
You feel it evens the playing field.
Right.
You feel like I'll just whip her. I'll whip her ass.
You never know.
Yeah, right.
It's some meanish women.
That's my point. So it made me, I felt good when a woman came, but it was like, I was anxiety laden for fear that a man would come and get me at 4 o'clock. I don't know what route he's taking me, because when I fly out of town, I'm going out of Intercontinental.
Right.
So if I'm leaving out of Hobby, now I've got somebody with, I don't know where they're taking me. You don't know if they deviate off the main path.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah, well, we got to take a detour because I went through the.
No.
Not according to Siri. Siri is saying we got to go here,
Right.
But it. We have a reader. we have sorry, not a reader, a listener who texted in, and she says it is a female. Ride-sharing services go against everything your parent told you, but I think that's because they are with legit companies like Uber and Lyft. People feel it's a little better because surely these drivers have been vetted. At least that's what we tell ourselves. And while ride-sharing assaults against the rider often make the news, assaults against the drivers rarely do. Both rider and driver have the same chance of being assaulted, and that's what you were talking
I
about.
said that earlier in my little thing. I said, it's dangerous to both men and women alike because, again, you've got some, you've got some crazies out there, and so
And my husband says
and that can work both ways.
Oh yeah, and my husband says regularly, he prefers that I'm out during the day. Not that nothing can happen during the day, but I tease him because he goes, we call it, drunk thumping,
Right.
meaning that the drunk people ride with him. He also drives Uber sometimes too. And he'll go pick up those guys that are very much
Right, you can
No,
tell them,
I
hey.
would never want to pick them up.
See, but he said, I don't want you dealing with that. And there's a part of the app on Uber where I can share my location with someone, and I share it with him so he knows where I am.
Right.
He knows where my rides are taking me.
Right.
But it's the same thing. I've had a variety of weird things go on as a driver. Variety.
I'm interested.
See,
to
and
hear
I
some
met-
of those.
I
Me
met,
too. We'll come back.
I actually met someone who stated that he was an Uber driver, and he said that after a certain time at night, he would just stop working because of that.
yeah.
He's like, I don't want to deal with the drunk people or the drunk females, you know, because he's a single male.
Yep.
He was, you know, an older white male. He was an older white male, and you know, that's the other thing that he's got to be concerned about. Okay, well, if I get a female, I don't know what accusations she's going to make against me, or she was drunk.
Especially with
You know,
sexual harassment.
Right, especially if
We just
she's
had that.
inebriated or under the
Right,
influence
right.
of whatever else. So, this listener also stated, just gave out scenarios as to why, you know, millennials or the younger generation is real quick to want to use Uber and Lyft and those such things, because it says like the baby boomer generation, their attitude is ride sharing services are dangerous. You're in the car with a complete stranger. So the younger generation, their reasons are for, okay, but I won't get a DUI.
Because I won't be driving.
I'm a college student with no car and I don't have a choice, or I'm a student being an Uber driver, so I have to make extra money somehow.
So those are all viable.
All of that's
Good
legitimate.
those are viable
Absolutely,
reasons,
and
you know?
I'm feeling the part about school and extra money, and I'm still feeling that now. So it you know, I think it transcends even
I'm
generations
just not-
sometimes.
You know, I just don't know how we're supposed to make good decisions on a situation, because see, we believe the internet. First of all, we believe everything they tell us. We believe that they vetted someone, that they, you know, I think in some of my research it shows that Uber doesn't even take fingerprints. At least they're comparing Ubers to taxis, while taxi, you know, because naturally it's kind of knocking out a lot of the taxi business.
Right.
You know, and these guys are not happy. But more importantly, taxi drivers have to go through a real strenuous background check. You know, fingerprints.
But even then,
But they
because
say Uber doesn't have to do that.
yeah, because I remember my mom was so against me moving to the city, because, you know, I had always said, well, I'm going to go live in New York, this and that. Okay, but the taxi drivers, that's dangerous. You know, even with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know,
But, you know, but it's
I got
everywhere.
propositioned by a taxi driver when I was living in Brooklyn. I did. He was taking me, he
you
whipped
seem so
around.
excited about that.
Well,
I know,
I'm
right?
just saying it happens. He whipped around, and all of a sudden he had a look about him, and he says, "Come to dinner with me." And I was like,
Nah, bro.
See, that,
nah.
yeah. See,
I'm
that,
not
that's
hungry.
when I pull
I'm
out
on a
my
diet.
That's when I pull out my taser.
He asked
I
me
got a
like
taser.
three, he asked me like
What?
three
I
times.
have a taser. What?
Yes, you do.
On a pistol.
You
You're
do?
not crazy, yeah.
Right.
But you don't know when someone is going to just flip, you know? And, you know, for instance, they have stories from other countries where people have, well, you're the Uber driver. Maybe you can tell us, I mean, I know you probably pro Uber, and I'm not saying that we're not, but just explore some of the opportunities that are there, some of the stories that you know about. Because I do know they have quite a few international stories where people are thrown out of the car. Men have physically removed women from their cars.
Mhm.
I mean, almost beating them down to get them out of the
Yeah,
car.
we come back and we'll let you know who checked in.
Okay, we'll come right back, and in the meantime, you just stay right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all caught up.
Yeah.
It's right behind you. You getting older.
You are listening to The Bridge. Share your opinion by calling 713-789-0096. Stay tuned.
Two people's stories
Okay.
on Uber, but you said you wanted to come back and.
No, I wanted to hear what Susan had to say.
Okay.
'Cause I've never used Uber. I don't have any experience with it at
Well,
all.
I've only had that one. That was the day after Christmas.
Yeah, I should have told my friend to call in because
I used Uber.
she uses
And
it
now
regularly.
I have someone that I work with at Airmark. He's an Uber driver, so I hit him up directly for those.
That's right. I was like,
And so,
yeah.
so I'll talk about that too.
My daughter uses them for when she and her husband want to go out drinking.
Right.
And that's why she said that I don't want a DUI.
Right.
You know, and I can get with that, but you know, I've seen accidents. There was some accident that when an Uber driver international, he ran into gas station. Car blew up. You know anything about that? Y'all need to go
What
on.
was that?
You need to go on Ride Share Nightmares. Ride Share
Ride Share
Nightmares.
Nightmares, okay.
Ride
I
Share
wouldn't have known
Nightmares.
about that if it hadn't been for you.
I don't know. I just kind of, you know, when I research stuff, I just kind of see what there is.
I love it. Someone tagged someone on our live feed. Tagged them so that way they could pay attention.
Oh, okay.
They like watch this. Oh yeah, okay. Danger zone.
I want a photo bomb.
Perfect song. Perfect song.
And then I want a photo bomb.
See, you and I need to start doing. See, my daughter gave me this. You on air? Okay. Okay. My daughter gave me this. I don't know how to use it. Oh, we gonna outdo them.
Stop it.
Wait a minute, we gonna outdo y'all.
Selfie mirror.
I don't know. My daughter.
That's what it's for selfies.
And I don't do it.
Better lighting.
My daughter.
Better lighting.
Better lighting for your
I like that.
You know, we got upstate. We're gonna find outdo us. We got lights.
I may be a little
Camera
warm,
and
but we
then
got
over the
something
lights.
We got some lights.
so that I glisten.
I got some of them.
I have a collection of those. Okay, and we are back. You're listening to the All About You show with OMG and Friends, where we are talking about stranger danger, and more specifically, we're talking about Uber and Lyfts and taxis and all the other things. So there was a point you wanted to make.
No,
Cynthia?
it's just saying
That we have some Facebook people you want to take
yeah,
on? or
Paul and Tony Taylor
something? Okay.
Oh, hey.
checked in, and also Poju Ojuku also checked in.
Oh, we appreciate that. That was
Yes,
so
you
nice.
know,
Tony's
Tony's
the mistress of my hair.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I see her from my
very
color.
important person.
Oh,
Your
yes,
style is a very
yes.
important
Come on
one.
now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And for anyone else, everyone, thank you again for checking in, listening in on our live feed and online at thebridgeoflightradio.com. Please share your stories with us or someone else's stories. I get, not all of us want people to know exactly what situation
Or
you
how
got put in.
stupid we've been.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm going to share that story later on. It hit me this morning of what I'm about to go do.
Right.
And it, I was like, wait a minute, I just totally put myself in that situation. But give us a call here at the studio, 713-789-0096. And if you can't call or you choose to remain like ultra anonymous, you're more than welcome to do that. Give us a text at 833-664-2638.
Okay,
So-
let me ask you something. Okay, you had some stories. Like, again, and guys, if you guys want to go look up some of these nightmares, you can go to Rideshare Nightmares or Google it or something. It'll show you some of the ridiculous positions that people put themselves in freely. I was just telling the girls there was one. I'm not sure what country it was in, but the guy was driving too fast, drives straight through the gas station and runs into, one of the pumps. And the car blows up. So that person who's in that car just getting a ride from an Uber driver is now dead.
Oh.
So you don't know who you're riding with. You don't know their driving record. See, I'm a little too skeptical
And
for that. I
anybody
was
can have an
terrified when
accident.
went
I
to the
mean, I'm
airport.
careful, but still, I've had accidents in the
Oh
past.
yeah, it happens, but I'm not. If it's gonna be an accident, let it be my fault. Let it be me. Let it be something that I take responsibility for.
Right. I
Not
don't want
because I'm in
to.
the back seat and some fool
You get
up
away.
front. Yeah, driving too fast.
And I think it's a matter too of us paying more attention. Like you said, we get really comfortable.
Complacent.
We
People
get
have
very
jumped
complacent.
in
The
and
world
they're
teaches you that.
texting, and I'm not even their Uber driver.
But-
Their Uber driver hasn't even arrived yet, but they're so busy on their phone texting, and then they get in the car because I don't know what they look like.
See, that's
Oh,
it. All of
see,
that
it doesn't do
bothers
that.
me.
See, because I know, okay, for as a consumer, I know
You'll
there's
see his route.
you get to see the Uber driver's picture, what type of vehicle,
See, I
and
didn't
yes, their route,
Like,
where
I
they're
didn't
at.
see-
Hey, they're 3 minutes from you.
I didn't
They're
see that.
they're here. They've arrived.
The one time
So,
that
but I assumed because it was done on our end that that should very much be done so for the drivers. For the drivers part. That way you know this is who I'm supposed to be picking up.
I've never seen that because again, I wasn't aware, and I was kind of miffed by it as well because when the Uber driver came to pick me up, 4 o'clock in the morning, my first reaction was, "Aren't you gonna help me with my bags?" And so the lady just sat there. No.
But you know what? Women don't.
A taxi driver would have helped me with my bags.
Correct.
That was my first drive, so I just assumed, "Aren't you gonna get out the car?"
Not
So
women.
I'm rolling my, Louis Vuitton luggage to the top myself, and then you want to help me. I was just pissed.
And I will tell you, as a driver, when I'm going to places, depending on where I'm going. Now, if I'm at the airport, I will likely get out and help if it's another woman, because I've had women that you swear their bodies in their luggage. But when it's men, you got it.
Right, I can
You don't
see
need
that.
me.
You know,
You
but I
got
just
this.
want-
You're
So
right.
she didn't offer you any help
She
at
didn't
all?
until I got my bag all the way over to her car. And then she wanted to talk because, as I said here in my little thing here, usually you don't have to talk to them. And there's also, if you go to Rideshare Nightmares, you'll see where people are getting in the car with an Uber driver, and she holds up like this a thing of tequila. Well, now they're frantic because we're in the car with you so that we don't get drunk.
But
and
you
drive.
have
But you got a big thing of tequila in the car. Just
See, this way you got to know the laws of the state you're in.
So
Texas
much
is open
stuff.
carry. You cannot have an open
container,
or an accessible bottle or container of alcohol liquor near you at all. It's illegal. You can't,
Oh,
you know,
yes, I know
I'm
what
I'm
you
trying to
mean.
work on my
so you get
tips,
stopped by the
or I'm
fake
trying
cop.
to. Yeah, right.
Right.
Or the
Absolutely.
real-
How do you know they're not trying to set you up?
You
Oh,
don't-
I'm gonna
you
get you real
don't
comfortable,
know.
and I'm gonna be
You
this.
don't
I'm the cool
see,
Uber driver,
this is
and
right.
I'm serving drinks and everything else. And whoop whoop! Oh my goodness, we're getting pulled over. How do you know I didn't set that
I
up?
just said. This
How do
is
you know
what
I
don't
didn't?
like. I talked to someone earlier today, and they were telling me about a ride that they had, and I think they'd driven Uber for about 2 days, and she would take her husband with her. Now, how is that? Are you able to ride? Could Stephen ride with
No,
you,
he could
even for
not.
safety purposes?
No, he could not. They even listed online when you're looking at all the details of what is and is not supposed to happen, and they say you can't. Because Stephen and I were trying to figure out a way to make that
Yeah,
happen,
watch the
just so he
safety,
can
right.
kind of let me
Right.
know
Mhm.
places where he goes, and because I'm not a native Houstonian.
Right.
There are still some places where there's stuff that I probably I shouldn't even be trying to pick up in.
Right.
So
you just don't
he-
know yet.
Exactly. I never know till I get over there and go, well, this is not going to be very
Right,
good.
right.
But, and it's funny that you mentioned the tequila because I cannot tell you, and it just goes to show, it does not matter your socioeconomic background that this will happen. I've had 2 episodes where they had a case of beer. These were youngins, this particular group, and they said, you mind, we're going to crack a couple of these. No, you're not going to be doing that in my car. I said, because at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on me, the
You,
driver,
That's right.
as to whether or not I've let you get in my car with an open container of beer.
Right.
And your
And you could, that's illegal.
Exactly.
Again, we're in Texas. That's illegal. It doesn't matter if you're driving or not. It's still an
It's in your car,
accessible.
it's in your car.
Exactly.
And you can hide
Container.
behind the law and say that's illegal in Texas, and
Absolutely.
then that'll let them know to take you seriously.
But, well, you know what, I'll be honest, as much as I was smiling, they knew I was not messing around. But then on the opposite end of it, dressed to the nines, looking gorgeous couples with their wine and their glass. You mind if we drink this in? Hold it.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
I
I
do
do.
mind. Absolutely, I mind.
Oh, but then I find out down the road that there are some drivers that are allowing this to happen.
See, this is where the line is crossed because people are sometimes trying to be cool. You know, I'm a cool Uber driver. You can call me or whatever. Some things, the line has to be drawn. No.
I don't
Just
think
say
so.
that your driver. You said she was attempting to converse with you. What about the weather? About her kids?
Where
what?
are you going?
None of your business.
Right, I'm going home to see
You're
family.
going where I tell you to
See,
go
she
to
was
drop me
trying
off
to-
at.
and
And that's
she
all you
kept-
need to know.
Oh, you mean other than the airport?
Yeah,
wanted
so she
to-
kept looking, she was driving, but she kept looking back. Oh, I was mink coat down, so she was looking all back
Oh,
trying
see,
to
I
see.
told you. She bougie.
So she's looking back to see me. I was just dressed, getting ready to go to the cold weather where
No,
I
she was
wear a
not.
fur coat.
She was back
Enjoy.
home. She was back on the East
Yeah, I was back on
Coast,
the
so
East Coast
she
where
got
where a
this.
fur coat matters.
Of course.
And so, she was kept back
Of course
just
it
looking
matters.
back at me. But, I engaged her after she started talking, but I was uncomfortable doing that because I thought, I don't owe you conversation. I
You
don't have to
don't,
be
right.
social.
I think the most I
See?
usually say is, how are you doing today? Is everything doing okay?
And you don't ask them, where
And
are you
then
going today?
I've never asked them where they're going.
First thing she asked me, where are you going? I said, I'm out of town to see my family. I'm going to the airport.
And
My
don't
my
try to remember
conversations
this
are
also.
very kind of surface based.
Right.
How did you fare during the hurricane? Was everything good? Was your family safe? I kind of keep it very general.
Right.
Right.
So it still engages conversation, but it doesn't mean that I get that deep. Now people have gotten real deep. I know everything's going on with their neighbors. I know who's not home, who's not going to be home. I'm like, why are you all telling me all of this?
See, and it's
I
funny.
think people are telling us stuff because they don't have friends. You talk to people because they're your friend, or you give people personal information because they're your
You
friend.
need attention.
You don't have friends, so you need attention. That's what I think.
Yeah, it could be loneliness. You know, the next thing I'm kind of afraid of with the Uber drivers, you know, they pick you up at your house. Do they keep a record of who they picked up where, so they'll know
I could go
where
right
to come
now on
back
here and I could tell you the last pickup I made, the last few pickups I
and
made,
where they
and
were?
where they were.
So you
they
can
wanted
stalk
to
them
come back
if
and
you were that
stalk them.
person. You could stalk and harass and everything else. And see, I had a good friend of mine.
Or break in to see if they got another fur coat that can fit you.
Wait, I
Right,
know that she
right.
went out of town to see her family for a few days and she's not going to be home.
Oh,
when I
so
get
your
back.
house is in
See, that, again,
See?
That's-
Okay,
yeah.
well, again, I have a really good friend, and I'm not going to use her name because I don't know if she wants me to or not. But this is kind of like the basis of how we came up with the show.
Right.
Was because her and I were just talking, and she told me about two separate experiences that were very similar with two different companies. One was Uber, one was Lyft. Now, she did file formal complaints with both of them and let them know exactly what happened. But what the short version of those stories are, she had Uber, she had the ride shares pick her up at home, and she was going out to meet someone. And it started off as small talk conversation, and she said then they got to inappropriate questions. Oh, so it's a blind date? Would you go out often? Well, where do you meet these
What?
people? Well, how often so are you like going, is it like a date, or are you like looking to hook up? So are you cool? What type of guys do you like? Well, how often are
See,
you
that's way too
disease
many
free?
questions.
Do you, yes, going on, and then she's like, what kind of questions what difference does
See, I would
it
say,
make? Like,
pull over to the right. I would have gotten out of the car.
and then she's single, a single female stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So you want me to pull over where?
Hey, I don't know.
See,
don't wanna,
I would have been like,
that's
you know
why
what,
I'm
this
so
gas
afraid.
station right here is fine.
Yeah, something like that. I'm too afraid to just,
Yeah.
get in a car with someone. And like I said, I was nervous the whole time, but I felt better that it was a woman there. But more importantly, I was still uncomfortable.
No, these were two separate occasions.
Same
Two
thing.
separate companies, so obviously two different drivers, and it was almost the exact same type of interaction. One was even so bold as to, don't sit in the back. You know what? Why don't you come sit up front with me? No, and see, I think what helps me a lot is the fact that I worked with the county. So we were driving around everywhere by ourselves. We dealt with high risk, at-risk youth, high risk, unsavory neighborhoods, day, night, 24 hours a day. So I've always been one to know, don't get complacent. When you're putting gas in your vehicle, I'm not just, I'm on my phone looking at this, looking at that, or I'm chilling in the car waiting to hear the click, okay, it's done. No, I'm looking around and I'm observing everything that's going on. Just because I have my shades on doesn't mean I can't see what's going on behind me, because I'm watching the reflections, Linda.
Absolutely.
I'm looking around, who's coming near me, who's doing what, but that's not everybody.
See, when I get in the car,
That, for me,
and the
that's
door
just,
locks,
it's a habit. For me, that was just part of training, and I continue to do that because safety.
It's a
Because
safety
we had
feature.
a lot of officers who, in the middle of the day, would call, "Hey, I got mugged," and they had radios on them when we were, when we had to carry the big like walkie-talkie radios everywhere with us, doing check-ins for home visits and things like that. You're putting yourself into that, so you have to take precautions. It's
But I don't think we're thinking along those lines.
and that's the problem.
So that's the issue.
With our conveniences, our phones and
Absolutely,
technologies and Siri
absolutely.
and that's Google and Alexa and Samsung and everybody else.
Yeah.
We've allowed them to do the thinking for
Absolutely.
us.
Mhm.
We continue
It's
to be
awful.
sheeple. And this is what we're talking
And
about.
we
This is
talk
why y'all
about
need to
this.
stay woke, but you won't.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now do you I was going to ask you something. They have lawmakers. Do you think that Uber? Well, let me ask you specifically, Susan. Are Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, are they regulated in some way? The same as taxis are regulated government-wise?
I
Do they have
know-
any regulations?
I know when I first signed up and when my husband first signed up to be an Uber driver, that's when they were doing the background checks and all of that stuff, and you had to go down and wait. But then remember when they got into that big argument and Uber threatened to pull out of Austin and all this stuff happened? Well, apparently that all went away. So it was no longer necessary to do the fingerprinting. So
Well, because they tried to make it seem like it was for permits, like they were, you know, like taxis and those unions and stuff were the issue, right?
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. We've got to go to break.
Right.
And move your mic. Your pull it up more like that. There you go.
It won't stay. I tried.
No, from here. From the
Arm.
from the arm, from right here.
You just did it right.
You did it right. When you did that.
You and I in microphones. Everybody else is fine. You and
I know. I'm looking, I was like,
Well, no, because yours is a little loose, so it starts moving.
Yeah,
And that's why I was like, hey, you gotta pull it back up, because I could hear it, that it sounded different.
Today's show is brought to you by Image. I make a great employee, executive, and entrepreneur etiquette training seminars, where life skills meet social graces. Please visit www.yourbizimage.com. That's www.yourbizimage.com for more information.
It's like, what?
obviously you're used to doing that.
Right.
But even, like I said, even as a
And
driver,
just-
it happened to me, and I was like, really?
And even without that, you know, we're having strangers come to our house and deliver groceries. So they know exactly what we eat and what we like. You know?
And I'm very funny about even when I have driven for shit too.
And when y'all
People say,
ready.
come in your house to talk.
And just yesterday on the news, that girl who was attacked, her car got stolen. A guy met her, she met on Facebook, they messaged, and they decided, you know, she agreed to like go meet him for a date. And he ended up jacking her car. Yeah, that was just on the news yesterday,
let's
so we need to
talk
mention
about
that.
Wow. They have this issues with Craigslist, even with the safe locations.
Yeah.
They still
In
have
your
issues.
car. We're talking about a stranger in your house. We're talking now in your car. You know, guys, we just want you to be aware of your surroundings when you do travel or decide to, you know, go get wasted and have somebody drive you home. Be sure that they drive better than you do wasted, because you have people out there, like I said, I've seen several accidents, really bad, catastrophic accidents on this rideshare nightmare. And what were we talking about, Adrian, before you went to bring up
Well,
a point?
you know, so people aren't confused. We're not knocking ride shares.
No.
That is not
And
the
we have an
only
Uber
strength.
driver here.
We're absolutely not.
Yes.
It does serve its purpose. It's just we need to be smarter about it and just stop being so complacent and so relaxed and so comfortable in our surroundings. And you know, whether you drive for a ride share, whether you utilize them for whatever reason, your purpose in utilizing them for, you know, or even they're shipped. People who deliver groceries to your home, you know, they know what you eat, they know what you like, so you're just allowing all of that
it's
into
too much
information
we are sharing.
Well, here's the other thing. It's with Tinder, with Craigslist, with any other type of dating app. And as a matter of fact, yesterday here in Houston on the news, they were talking about that. This young lady met someone on Facebook. They were chatting back and forth. You know, they were Facebook friends.
They're not friends.
Right. So they met and he asked her out. Hey, let's meet up. This, that. Okay. She was smart. She met him in a public location. There was a lot of people there. They were having a good time. And then when it was time for her to go or something else to that effect, when she's trying to leave, he won't let her leave. He ended up jacking her car.
See,
So,
how do you know if you're not being ambushed? Somebody can
Right,
tell
he could
you,
have
come
had his
pick me
friends
up.
there.
Better yet,
Absolutely.
you're in a vehicle. They can get your license plate. So now they can find out where you live.
Anything.
They can follow you
This is
home. I can have my homies, Pookie and them, hey, wait for me over there.
That's
This
right.
girl,
That's
this is
what
what
I
she's
just
driving.
said.
This, you
Right.
know,
about
right.
Pookie
Yeah.
and them.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, or you know, or
That's
my
what I just
roadies, hey
said.
homegirl, man, he's got this fly ride going on. He's wearing this, he's wearing that, he's
Right.
dressed like this.
See,
This
that's
is
what
where
I'm
he
talking
parked
about.
at. So y'all
Y'all
sit over
get-
there and wait for
right.
him.
See, that's the stuff I'm
Somebody
worried about.
follow him.
You could be ambushed, set up, kidnapped. I mean, any number of things can happen.
And this isn't just for females. We have a listener, and it's a male. He's he's 38. Okay, just so y'all know his age. So he's an adult. He's not, you know, some ignorant person. But this is their story. And he says, I had an Uber driver that was having problems with his ex-girlfriend. She was following us, and he was going off track, trying to lose her in
See?
traffic
Okay.
while he's in there.
See?
He says it turns
No.
out he was an African with a heavy accent, and all of a sudden he pulls out a candle and starts yelling out chants. And he's like, wait, this MF has a magic wand and started pointing it at her. So he's sitting in the back seat, just still trying to figure out everything that's going on. And he turns up some African music and starts chanting. And that's when he told him, you know what, pull over,
let me
pull
out.
over and let me out. And I said, you're lying. This happens to be someone I know personally. He goes, no. He goes, I put this on everything. He goes, this actually happened. He goes, I will never use that ever again.
It's
Wow.
just
Ever
not safe.
again.
It's not safe for either men or women.
No.
It is
They
not.
just started.
You can't even get into a new relationship with anybody because you have to worry about baby mamas and baby daddies and jealousy and everything else. And
And
you know,
now you got this.
right.
as
Yo,
another addition.
don't sit there and put, oh, we're dating. We're going, no. People don't need to. This is new. We don't need to go all there yet because I don't know all your history and your baggage that you have going on.
And you
You
do
don't
have
know
baggage.
Well, you
mine.
do bring back.
Yeah.
Right. So this isn't just about females. I mean, male, female, old,
Chanting.
young.
Now, you know, a couple of weeks ago.
Chanting.
Yeah, right? That's
Okay.
okay to me. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we did talk about sexual harassment that's happening now and the implication of what it means for women. So here we are again. Now we've gone from sexual harassment to still, yet again, another form of sexual harassment. You
That's
know?
right.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
And
so
in order
this
of sexual
whole-
assault,
This is a
'cause
whole, yeah, this is a
Yeah, it's
whole-
the person can really
Yeah,
touch
absolutely.
you privately.
See,
right?
they've got control because I get worried. Now, when I get in my car and I hear the locks locked, I'm good because I'm in.
Mhm.
But if I get in somebody else's car and I'm in the back seat, and
Absolutely.
I'm a control freak, I'm
Mm-mm.
sorry.
I'm-
If
I
I'm
don't
not in
like locked
control
doors.
and the car, once you get in the car, the door's locked.
Right.
That panics me. I get
And people are not paying attention when they're getting in your car. So they don't know what's going on with your doors and your
Right.
locks and all of that. They're not paying attention. They're texting, they just jump in.
And you don't know if someone has their child locks enabled until you're trying to get out. You're like, hey, you
I
gotta
can't get
let me out.
right.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
See,
I
that
no,
was
no,
right.
no, no, no.
No.
I would get, yeah, that
And,
was
and, and even my husband, he said that he's had to tell many of the young and the drunk,
Mhm.
not because it doesn't happen with any other age, but it just so happened that's his
The more-
demographic.
Right, they're more
And he,
susceptible.
and he says, he'll tell them, he said, honey, and he's a Texan, so there's a honey and a darling likely to come out of his
Right.
mouth. But he'll tell them, you need to stop telling people this, or you need to stop doing this. Or
Whatever
you,
it is you're
he
doing.
said, I have a daughter.
Yeah.
He said, I would be mortified if she said or did or behaved that way. But then there are those that are saying, well, what do you think? Are you single? And he's like, hang on.
Yeah, right.
Hang on. And he'll come home, eyes this big, and he's just like, I cannot believe what they're okay
This
saying.
is why we
Right,
have
I'm
this show, all about you. The show is not about us. We're already smart. We're aware.
And that's
They
why
woke. Just trying to get you, they woke.
Melanie
They woke.
Clark is checking in again because we have this show and because we are with it. We know
That's
what's going
it.
on.
We know what's going on.
I'm
We
not
know
one
it.
of those
Melanie.
crazies.
Yeah, we just want to make sure you're safe.
And see, the story I wanted to share, what hit me this morning was,
Yeah, right.
people are offering services. They're, I'm all about helping someone. You have a small business, a local business. I'm all about helping you, and especially if we're gonna barter. You're gonna provide me a free service. I'm gonna give you a nice review if if
That's what it
it's
takes.
warranted.
That's what it takes.
You know,
Right.
it hit me this morning that I have an appointment today in someone's home because they're an up and coming makeup artist. They do,
Yeah,
estheticians, whatever. And it wasn't until this morning that it finally hit me. Wait a minute. I am totally putting myself
Stranger danger.
in this situation. I'm going to someone's home. I have no idea who they are. They were on social media. They were offering a service. I said, hey, I'll scratch your back. You scratch mine.
Social media is the link here.
Now,
Mhm.
I was smart enough and am smart enough that I let not only just all of you guys know,
Right.
I told y'all where it was at. It's like,
Right.
hey, this is the person, this and that. They're saying it's supposed to take X amount of time.
And we will break thunder if we have to get
Absolutely,
out.
right, absolutely. And I even let, other personal friends know,
You
hey,
have
this
to,
is what
you
I'm
have
doing
to.
today. This is where I'm
You
going to
have
be
to.
at. This is my plan. When I leave there, I'm heading to such and such side of town. So that way, any of y'all, my close circle can know something's wrong. Where's Daydream at? This isn't
not
right.
her.
Right, it
This is
doesn't
not how
make
this
sense,
works.
right.
Right. So we have to be smart about it, and we also can't be offended when we have people who ask
you.
us more questions or trying to be safe on their end. We just got to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and be like, wait a minute. If they're asking this, maybe they're just trying to get comfortable with who I am. Even when you're looking for jobs.
Mhm.
Oh, give me your contact information. Send me your resume. It has
It's
all
too
this and that.
loose.
And it's
It's
like,
too loose
no,
for
send me a website. Let me see something official. Let me look up this. Let me do
Right.
some research. Okay, now I'll send you my
See, now
information.
we're not guarded enough anymore. We've let down our guard. We're wide open to anything, everything. and not to mention that you are providing all of your personal information on your own. Nobody's twisting your arm. But outside of Uber, they do have companies now, as I mentioned earlier, that based on Uber's and Lyft's incidences, they are creating what they deem as a safer ride share. And it's called Safer, SAFEHER. You just want
Safer.
right? Yeah, absolutely. But why is it called ride share? With whom are you sharing a ride? Are there more?
Who is her?
My question is, you have ride share. Ride share means okay. Can you have more than one person in an Uber ride?
You can.
See, I couldn't do that either. So you have carpool as well. So
It's called carpool. So that's what a ride share is, people. I don't care. You can call a duck a chicken if you want, but it still tastes different. It's still a duck.
But that's what made me ask the question, because it said ride share. With whom are you sharing the ride? See, I don't know that I would have gotten in the car.
Well, think about
and
it.
somebody else was in the car.
Do you remember Metro, where they were trying to, increase, hey, carpooling, this and that, and let's look at Metro. You could go to parking rides, and instead of getting in the vehicle, instead of getting onto a bus, people would just pull up and carpool. Hey, we're heading downtown to this area. We're heading to, okay, and you just get in the vehicle, and people gave that so much flack about, oh my God, I'm just getting in a car with a complete stranger.
Or a bunch
Okay,
of
well now
strangers.
they got your credit card information, and now you're paying to get into a car. How does that make you feel any safer? How is that not the exact same thing?
It is. It is.
Right, but I think if you do share the ride on Uber, don't you have to say you're willing to share the
Yes,
ride?
you have to
Or
give
they'll
consent to
offer,
do so.
yeah, so that wouldn't have happened.
So they do
Wait, does that mean we're splitting the fare?
See, that's
You
what I
are
don't know.
to an
Ride sharing.
extent.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
You are
that's
to
that's
an
the other
That can get counted,
hook.
can't it?
That's
Well,
the
what
other
they
hook
do
too.
though, they're doing it online, but still, I don't know if they. I'll be honest, I've never done it because for me personally, I'm a little uncomfortable with. Okay, I'm gonna pick up because you kind of picking
just
them
don't like
up
people.
along the way.
I don't like people. Don't talk to me. Like, seriously, want me to, hey, how you doing? Like I said, small talk, weather's nice. Okay, cool. Oh, did you do your, okay, cool. That's no, we don't need to have any other conversation. I will purposely put my face in my phone, even though I'm pretending like I'm looking at
Because you don't
something.
want to be bothered.
Because yes, that's my way to tell you that's enough.
Time out, we're good.
You're now you're too much into my 3 to 5 feet. You're in my space.
Oh, yeah.
That's enough. So
I've even had to tell a rider in particular. We had ridden quite some way, and he was going about 30 minutes away from where his house was, and he was bringing his drink with him because he's going over there to party with his friend. And all of a sudden, as we got closer to the location, he starts telling me this story about how this other female Uber driver, how they were caught up in traffic, and then how he ended up inviting her to come into the house with them and have a drink, and she said sure, and she partied with them. So he leaned up and put his arm around the passenger seat because he was in the back. Because a lot of times I'll have something in my front seat.
Correct.
Unless I've got a full load of people,
matter. You can't
I'll
do
have something in my front seat. Because my thing is, I don't want to persuade you to sit up there with me. That's not
Correct.
comfortable.
I never get into the front seat.
Oh, and keeping in mind, I'm like you. I have a blade, and but my thing is, I don't even
I
want there
love
to be
Texas when they're open
that's
carry-offs. Love me some Texas.
But he was just he was stressing that so much. I was like, real? No. I said, what's not gonna be? You don't want you to know. I don't.
Well, the other driver, I'm not the other driver, honey.
But see, a lot of women are just open to doing things that we're not used to
Absolutely.
doing. So
Well, he's
the
gonna
millennial-
take a chance and ask just in case.
That's
you
right.
Oh
are.
yeah,
Exactly.
he figured it worked the first time.
Well,
Let's try it again. Oh yeah.
See if I can-
Well,
Who
there's
knows
one-
what else happened while she was there? That's the thing.
See, and I was trained, we were trained, when you have someone in the vehicle with you, you don't put them directly behind the drivers. That's too much easy access. They can reach, they can get behind you, that's your blind spot, whatever. You get them to your right, put them in the right back, and that way you see their rear view.
Police do it.
Exactly, that's how we were trained.
And
You
that's
can
how
see
I
them
pull
in the
up.
rearview mirror and everything else that's going on. So that helps.
Now,
But these are all little things you have to think about. Same thing, ladies, and men, and whoever, anybody who is carpooling or car sharing. If you're the only person in that vehicle, if it's a taxi driver, don't get directly behind them.
Nope.
Get to the side, because you need to put as much distance between yourself and that assailant.
Absolutely.
Okay,
potential
assailant as possible. And I'm also one, when I get into, I don't use it very often. I'm fortunate enough that I know people who are Uber drivers and Lyft drivers that I can just call them and say, hey, are you working tonight? Do you think you can come pick me up? And I will just call them directly and go that way, because it's safer if I'm going to go meet someone for the first time.
Right.
You don't know my vehicle. You have no idea what I'm driving in. You're not going to be able to follow me. We were in an Uber. So
Absolutely.
we're good, you know, and when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. I'm on my time and not having to deal with, I hope he hurries up and takes me home soon.
Yeah.
You know, but also when you get into the vehicle, close it, and before they take off, try to open it back up. Hey, your child safety lock is on, or can you do this, or how do you, you know, and if they're not wanting to, you're not trying to disengage your child safety, no, that's okay. You know what, I'm just going to take another drive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, get somebody else.
And
Yeah,
remind
I'll
me to
get
tell
someone
you all
else.
the scary story a good girlfriend of mine told about her Uber ride the other day.
Oh,
Yeah.
just the other day? What was
Yeah.
it?
She was going to the airport, and it's supposed to be somebody that she knew,
Mhm.
and they did not know how to get to the airport because they did not have GPS on their phone. She literally had to pull over on the expressway. She called her girlfriend. She's screaming. She's having a fit.
Mhm.
And she's like, this is ridiculous. Finally, when a police officer shows up,
Mhm.
she tells them, this guy doesn't even know how to get me to the airport.
Wow.
And it is my understanding the police officer took her to the airport because she didn't feel comfortable with this guy to the place where, like I said, they pulled over on the expressway.
But how not?
I told you, I
it's
seen
on
something.
GPS.
He doesn't have
so
GPS,
bizarre.
he said.
Oh yeah, no, that's a red flag. I'm sorry. If you're an Uber driver, that means you have a smartphone. Okay,
Mhm.
so you have access to all that. So you're gonna sit there and tell me you can't do this or
You
can't
have
do
to have
that?
your tools.
Nah,
Mm-hmm.
mm-mm.
That was a red flag for me, but.
Absolutely.
We just need to pay more attention, guys. We just blindly just believe everything that is said to us, and the biggest threat to us and our safety is a cell phone. Because a lot of times when people, you know, even with me, when I pull my car to the garage, I'm making sure that I'm not on the phone.
Absolutely.
I am making sure that
Mhm.
all of my attention is given to my getting in the garage,
Mm-hmm.
in my house, locked in and locked down.
Right.
Because see, stuff can happen so quickly while you're on that phone. This phone has been a big deterrent for safety.
Absolutely.
You know.
Juliet Escobar checks in.
Hey, Julia.
Yeah,
Julia.
and she says if a person gives the credit card number as a driver or passenger does not necessarily mean that it is the actual person.
Well, that's true too.
So that's another.
There's
and
so
also,
many factors.
Melanie
that are just,
Clark agrees with you. She says leave a tracer. She used to get upset when her parents asked her where she was going. She said even now,
yeah.
she's as grown can be.
Mhm.
Yeah, it gets annoying. It's like, oh my God, okay. But as soon as I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna complain, you know, and I'll be that little immature adult at times, but I'll still do it. No
Well,
problem.
You know, again, stranger danger started out with years ago. Don't talk to strangers. Don't walk with strangers.
Mhm.
Don't accept gifts from strangers. Don't accept food or drinks from strangers.
Right.
Don't accept candy or sweets from strangers. Don't talk to strangers when they ask you for directions. I mean, we were raised with all of this. All of this needs to go back to old school.
It really
Don't get
does.
into a car with
Back to
strangers.
basics.
And here's one. Don't get into a car with strangers or enter a stranger's house. And you're going to go get your eyelashes done. And we get in the car with whoever drives up and says,
And you're paying people.
Baby, pay
You're
like
paying
that.
strangers. You're
Here we
paying
go.
for strangers to get in
But
their
I
cars.
think somebody got robbed at gunpoint like that. The guy stopped to ask for directions, and she goes over to help him, and he pulls out a gun.
Are you
And you know what?
serious?
Shout out to my
Strips
sister
her
June
down.
Williams for teaching
Yeah.
me that was going to be a no-no. And that was when I was little. Keeping in mind, I'm in my 50s. So my older sister taught me about that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest blessing she ever taught me about paying attention when you're walking by bushes.
That's right.
Paying attention when people pull up. If someone's giving you directions, you can't hear them. You just can't hear them. Do not approach
Don't
the car.
approach them or don't let them come to you.
Exactly.
Normally, if a guy's approaching me, I say, stop, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll startle him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And I
Not
don't let him
happening here.
get, because
Yeah.
if he gets in your space, he could overtake me. But
Absolutely.
if he's past arm, I stop
You got a
right
chance.
there.
You
Yeah.
got a chance.
Like I said, guys, we're doing this for you because we want you to be safe and
Pay
we want you to
attention.
arrive at destinations that you have initially set out to get to. So it is our intentions to do that. But in closing, we in order to prevent any bad situations and incidences, it is essential that you be wary of whose services that you are using. Always keep a note of their license plate, check the routes that they use, and also learn the route to your destination so that if somebody takes
Absolutely.
a devious, a different
Mhm.
route, then you know at that point, where are we? This is off the beaten path. This is not where
Right,
they
right.
going.
My GPS isn't going that way.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You know, so it might also help if you let a friend or a loved one know, which is what Daydream said.
Mhm.
Let them know where you are if you're using a taxi or a Lyft or an Uber. You know, so we just want you to arrive at your destination safely.
A little bit about gratitude. As we get older, however, we get schooled in our mistakes and learn to focus on what's right and what is lacking, missing, inadequate, and painful. That's why gratitude is powerful. It helps us to return to our natural state of joyfulness where we notice what's right instead of what's wrong. Gratitude reminds us to be like plants, turn toward, not away from the light.
Lights, that's right. Now, Susan, you're a wellness warrior. Has
Yeah.
something she wants to say real quick.
You all listen to next week. We're going to be talking about all they wanted was a quickie. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm down for
Ponder
that.
that. Ponder that.
Down for that.
Just for a moment.
In and out. Let's go.
Quick.
All they wanted was a quickie.
That's all.
Jeez.
So it's next week?
Yes, we'll be here next week
so
again.
So make sure that you come back and listen to us and invite your friends to listen because again,
Absolutely.
we're not about ourselves.
No,
We're all
good.
and just because we stop airing live, that doesn't mean we stop the conversation. We please continue the conversation. Continue to share your stories and experiences with us on this topic or any other topic. You know, this is your show, so please hit us up on our website, allaboutyoushow.info, and suggest topics or hit us on DM, on text, Twitter, you know, all this good social media stuff, on Snapchat if you have me on Snapchat personally. We're more than we would love to hear from you about your suggestions.
And on that note, stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay
Have a good week.
safe. Have a good one.